or as it was later known by, EA Mythic, or BioWare Mythic, or Mythic Entertainment again, and then BioWare Mythic, and then Mythic Entertainment. Why do they keep changing? Mythic was founded by Mark Jacobs as an online game development company. Originally known as Adventures Unlimited Software in 1984, it focused early on creating online versions of games like Diplomacy, and then later Dragon's Gate, which was a rather popular MUD, or multi-user dungeon that ran for over 17 years. Jacobs was seen as the sort of brain of the company, the method to the madness. By 1995, Mythic Entertainment was officially formed. They had a range of FPS and online RPG games. In 2011, Mythic Entertainment launched Dark Age of Camelot, the game that really defined the company. Dark Age of Camelot had a reported $3.2 million budget and was led by Rob Denton, co-founder of Mythic and lead programmer, and Matt Feurer. Dark Age of Camelot was a game about realm versus realm, which was very large-scale PvP, or player warfare, spread across wide areas known as realms.
Roger that,
The
no
game
tunnel.
was unique in that it could be almost entirely played from the perspective of a PvP player, which also known as player versus player. Dark Age of Camelot had its shortcomings, but it was able to boast as high as a 250,000 person subscriber base at one point. Dark Age of Camelot was also seen as a forefather of the PvP landscape for MMOs, and it's very positively regarded by most. Mythic Entertainment then tried an MMO named Imperator Online, but the game was never fully produced or launched, and likely led the company bleeding many of their resources. So the project came to an end in 2005 when Mark Jacobs announced that they had secured the license to make Warhammer Online from Games Workshop. Games Workshop was the company that owned the Warhammer IP. The game was announced shortly after. The Warhammer universe had existed for 20 plus years in the tabletop world, where it had board games and figurines and also tons of novels to its credit.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
War is everywhere.
Light mech running around behind us in Delta 5.
The Empire is under siege by the marauding
Raven or Locust, didn't see what it was.
Target acquired.
The Dark Elves assault Ulthuan. The
Affirmative.
New target acquired.
Faced with certain doom, elves, men, and
Target
dwarves
spotted.
have united their forces to form an alliance of order.
New target acquired.
The full name of the game became Warhammer Online: Age of Reckoning, and Mythic Entertainment was then purchased by Electronic Arts, or EA for short, just a year after
Target
they announced
spotted.
the game in 2006. It's speculated this was because Mythic was running out of money to fund Warhammer Online and needed a big publisher to step in. EA renamed the company to EA
Target
Mythic,
spotted.
which was then renamed back to Mythic Entertainment just 2 years later, a few months before the launch of the game. Mark Jacobs, the founder of Mythic Entertainment, received flack for the merger because he had previously denied any allegations of a merger with
Target
Electronic
acquired.
Arts. Though he didn't outright deny, people felt like he was
New
being
target
rather much
acquired.
a lawyer in his statements and
spotted.
dodging, and the acquisition was only an acquisition in assets and a
target
name change,
acquired.
according to Jacobs, and that the development of Warhammer would remain the same in the Mythic Studios located in Fairfax, Virginia. Though looking back, I'm not really sure how many
Target
people believe that.
acquired.
During the
Target
game's
spotted.
development cycle, Mythic employed a designer known as Paul Barnett to spearhead the creative directive of the game. Paul Barnett was a vivacious character who was very well known for his Warhammer feature
Target
videos,
spotted.
where he could make even non-fans become evangelists.
Behind us.
shortly after. Paul was an interesting character because he was known for saying statements like, "You shouldn't play MMOs because they corrupt your way of thinking when attempting to create other MMOs," or his staunch stance against World of Warcraft filled with quotes like,
Target spotted.
"I can't tell what is wrong, what is genius, so I don't want to get sucked into copying things in case I get wrong." The game was launched on September 18, 2008, which as previous viewers of my first Destiny game video would probably realize that this is rather similar to Star Wars Galaxies, being a 3-year development cycle, which is rather short, again, in comparison to WoW, which had a 5-year development cycle. Also, like Star Wars Galaxies, Warhammer Online launched with good success and had sold 1.2 million copies, boasting a
I gotta get out of
subscriber
this.
base of near 800,000. Despite an expansion launch in January 2009, Full Arms, the population had a gradual shrinkage to 300,000 just 1 year later. This could be in part due to the content of the expansion being mostly from the cut content that was already present in the beta version of the game. the new classes in particular. The expansion did add a new zone, but didn't add much in terms of fixing previous content or
Target
balancing it.
destroyed.
The number of servers in the game were then reduced to 13, a near 63 numbers of
New
servers
target
were
acquired.
shredded. To consolidate for population issues,
Target
as the
destroyed.
game was heavily reliant on
New
a population to
target
play.
acquired.
That same year, EA announced that they would be merging Mythic Entertainment with BioWare, who had recently just been acquired by EA. They would be merged under the title BioWare Mythic as an MMO-focused branch of
Target
EA,
acquired.
headed by Ray
New
Mizuka.
target
Ray was
acquired.
famously known as being the co-founder of BioWare. This restructuring of the companies coincided
target
with the
acquired.
announcement of a new Star Wars MMO known as Star Wars The Old Republic. The joining of these companies likely was due to EA wanting Mythic to serve as a sort of
4 left.
advisor to BioWare, and BioWare having the chance to be involved in the currently running MMO Warhammer Online. Later in 2009, EA cut over 1/3 of the studio's workforce as part of their infamous job culling. By 2010,
Target
Warhammer
acquired.
was alluded to having less of a population than its spiritual
Moving semi-fresh direwolf to engage fresh direwolf.
This number was rumored to be around 50,000.
100%.
In an attempt to garner more interest, the Warhammer team launched a mini-content expansion that made the Skaven, a popular race in the Warhammer universe, a playable race. However, it was playable by both Order and Destruction forces, not really serving as the third faction people would have assumed it would
Yeah, I'm out of there.
or should have been. 2011 rolled by, and the game only had 3 servers left. To make matters worse,
He's exited the side door, I think.
and cash out features in an attempt to go free to play. BioWare Mythic was then renamed to Mythic Entertainment, likely due to EA or BioWare not wanting to
Target
have the
destroyed.
stain of failure on their record.
Machine gun
On
ammo
December
depleted.
18th, 2013, the game was brought down based on a mutual. We both know that wasn't mutual, and also doesn't that sound
Target
familiar?
acquired.
Agreement from Gamers Workshop, the owner of the Warhammer IP, and Mythic Entertainment, the owner of the Warhammer Online MMO. To wrap up the conclusion of the history portion of this video, the Warhammer story is a shorter one than my previous Star Wars Galaxies video, and leaves likely more questions as to why the game failed, since there wasn't some huge exodus brought on by a single patch or update, like there was present in Star Wars Galaxies. Although Warhammer didn't have an ENGE of sorts, it had rather clear reasons and patterns as to why the game did eventually fail. Let's take a look at those, but first, let's talk about what the game did well. I noticed in my previous video, I didn't make it a point to point out what Star Wars Galaxies did right, and I wanted to make it a point in this video to do that with regards to Warhammer. What Warhammer did well was PvP. It had a simple RVR system where you could level up with PvP and have